Greetings and peace. I hope you and yours are doing well today, wherever you might be watching this from. Now, the title of today's subject of Masonic discussion will be the importance of having a Masonic mentor, a guide, and a friend in your journey in Freemasonry. Now, the aspect of true Masonic Eastern teachings from the Eastern esoteric point of view is that it prohibits Western individualism and egoism that we see tearing the society apart. The importance of joining a brotherhood or any group in today's chaotic society is to be with like-minded brothers, as even Rumi says in one of his Sufi poems, that the pigeons flutter with pigeons and eagles fly with eagles, because it's the importance of your company. Who you are is because of the company that you keep, and the importance of that is that it's shaping you to be a better human being. And in these times today, it's so important to have a skill that you can work on, hone something about yourself, have like-minded companions that can aid you, guide you, assist you. Even when we look at the religious stories of Solomon, Jesus, David, Muhammad, peace be upon all of those great prophets and messengers. They all needed their companions, their disciples, all of the people that were walking them home. So we are all walking each other home, and we need this guidance in a society that tells you just worry about yourself and don't worry about the other. So right now, as one joins the aspect of Freemasonry, you need a guide and a mentor who can teach you the proper Masonic etiquette, how the Freemason behaves in person, on social media, in his workplace, at his job, with his family, in whatever vocation or situation one might find himself in. It's very important because I've also seen those that are not properly trained, or let's say they don't have that empathy within their hearts. They could go through those aspects and still not act in a good way, whether it's on social media or in other platforms. You have to always present yourself in top-notch etiquette if you're presenting the title of a Mason. And again, I represent my own views, and I represent no Grand Lodge statements or opinions or any authority in my videos. These are my thoughts, and I believe it's very important for one to have the proper mentorship. So anywhere you go, when someone takes you by the hand and offers to be your friend and to guide you through each step of the journey, that's exactly what we need. We're facing so many issues today, even men, in terms of not being able to share our issues correctly, not having somebody to talk to. There's that lack of loneliness that we have today where nobody's just dealing with each other. Everyone has their entertainments at home, whether it's video games, movies, watching the television, of some kind of streaming service. That lack of human relationships is getting less and less. Naturally, that's not who we are, because we're social creatures. We need each other in some way, shape, or form. No matter what path you're walking on, whether it's the right-hand path or the left-hand path, I've had both agree with me that man is a social creature and we need each other in our guidance in the spiritual journey that we're in, because you have to realize, what were you sent here to do? You weren't just sent here to pay bills and die. You were sent here as a spiritual soul in this physical vessel, this avatar that you're in, to learn something. And then once you learn your lesson, you move on to the next phase, depending on how you do this go around. And in order for you to be successful in that, it's not always about you. It's about you needing a guide and a mentor. Even the aspect when you petition to a Masonic lodge, it's the prayer of your petition for you to be accepted by your peers. So by yourself, you can't join anything. It's others that have to deem you worthy and accept you based on your character. Even when you join, going through the initiatic process, you need a guide, you need a mentor, you need someone who can vouch for your character, all of those things. And that shouldn't stop, especially what I see in Western society. That shouldn't just stop just at the initiatic experience. That should be a lifelong, continuous process, where even in Sufism, we're told to sit with someone who has sat with someone who has sat with someone, the Sheikh passing his teaching on to his students, then his students become Sheikhs and they pass it on to their students, etc., etc. So it's very important, not just for the longevity of the fraternity, but for the developing character of the brother, that he always has a brother and a friend that he can call upon. Not when he needs something, just to somebody to have to talk to, just so you can get a weight off your shoulders. Doesn't it feel so good when you have somebody to talk to, and you know that they will keep everything you say in confidence, and you just have that love and respect for each other. And it's important in today's world where human relations are lacking, and it's important for men to have that aspect, and it's important for women to have that too, where you have somebody you can listen to, talk to, get guidance from, offer your guidance in return to them. Because at the end, that's what it's all about, right? It's you're walking each other home, and the true initiation is from the heart anyway. So even if you are initiated on paper, there are still many of those who are still not initiated, regardless of their titles and accolades. Your true initiation is really from the heart, because everything happens from the heart. The purity of your heart. Even the Sufi aspect calls this tazkiya ul-nafs, the purification of the heart. Your entire lifelong journey is to purify the heart in your thinking, knowing, doing, understanding, your life getting shaped in this beautiful, sublime plan by the grand architect of the universe, the divinity, in whichever manner you perceive it, with all the things that you're meant to do, people that you're meant to see, places that you're meant to go. It's all such a beautiful plan. And to be there for those that love you and you love them in return. Imagine if today was your last day on earth. Just think about it. None of us have that guarantee, right? When you go to sleep, what would you tell the people that love you and that you love them if today was your last day? What message would you give to humanity? And that's why it's so important to have guidance and mentorship in today's world. It's so important, and you need the proper companionship, the proper training, the proper guidance, someone teaching you the etiquette, whether it's Masonic or Sufism, on what it means to be a person of that character, how to act in different venues, and not just put on a face once or twice a month just to go to lodge. That's a developing character, a work in progress, that is a lifelong progress, as your rough ashlar becomes a smooth ashlar, and you chip away at your imperfections day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, until you complete this human journey, and it's time for you to lay down your working tools and go above to meet your maker. And that's exactly what it is. Even when you see the funeral services, all the brothers are there. So yeah, that is true. We come into this world alone and we leave alone. We don't take our wealth and titles with us, but the only thing that we do take with us is what good did you do for yourself and others. But during this human journey, we have this importance of guidance. Just like how a parent raises his child, and you have a teacher that guides his student. We don't get to our destinations alone, right? And that's why true Eastern esoteric Masonic teachings prohibit Western individualism and egoism, and that's why this society is falling apart, because we're taught not to have those connections anymore. It's just about worry about yourself. Don't worry about the other person. Don't worry about your neighbors. Worry about yourself, and it's all about you, and you. That doesn't get you anywhere. That's a recipe for disaster. And as we see everything that's happened, the structure was already weak. This COVID pandemic has actually, it was only one thing that was needed to reveal a weak structure. And as we see how so many things are just falling apart, everything is just kind of holding at the seams in terms of the work system, the education system, the healthcare system, the job markets, the whole infrastructure. It's just holding on like barely by a thread. And I see this thing rapidly changing within the next 10 years. And it's, what times are we living in? These times are so interesting, where all organizations are being affected by the current circumstances. But then again, it's so important that when anybody counts on you, you don't look down on them. You don't let that Western individualism just separate you from the other person. When the only time you do care about them is when they have to pay a fee to retain their membership in a said organization. That's being disingenuous, and that's not being an honest human being. Ask them, hey, how are you? How's your family? Tell them about yours. Sit down with somebody if they're alone by their own self, and you will see how far things go. And the aspect of, hey, what can I help you with? And how can you help me in my journey become a better person? I have these questions, and this is the plan that I'm making for my life, and then they in return can help you. So that guidance and mentorship is so much needed today. I mean, I see it all the time on these Masonic Facebook groups and social media. They're all just fighting with each other and arguing with each other, and that's that Western individualism that's not compatible with Eastern Masonic teachings. You have to look to the East to get the light. And this is my opinion, what I'm stating here. So that's about empathy, understanding, compassion, brotherhood, simplicity of the heart, mind, body, and soul. To have the heart and mind of a child and be true initiates of the heart. Love each other without any judgment. Because when you remove judgment and being a title chaser, that's when the true initiation happens from the heart. And that's exactly what it is. When somebody counts on you, you don't look down upon them or laugh at them. You help them. Because being a brother it's so powerful. It's so powerful. Calling somebody a brother is truly a powerful thing, and you must not take that lightly. It's like in the Holy Quran, you have Surah 49, verse 10, that the believers are but one brotherhood. So make peace between your brothers, and be mindful of God, that you may be shown mercy. And what a lot of the Masonic groups like to use from the Holy Bible, Book of Psalms 133. Behold, how good it is for brethren to dwell in unity. So everything is about unity. It's not about individualism. It's not about worrying about yourself. It's not about calling somebody a brother and not taking it seriously. It's about being there for each other, being there for each other's families, being there for each other when they need somebody to talk to or lighten their hearts and minds, and reassuring each other that we will get through this human journey for however long we're meant to be here, and to do the work that we're meant to do in terms of uplifting the fallen state of mankind. So the education aspect is very important. Education, proper etiquette training, mentorship. And when you have those things, when somebody gets what they ask for, then what a lot of the organizations, I mean, not just Freemasonry, but many organizations across America or the Western world wouldn't be in the situation that they are in right now, because a lot of things are shifting to a virtual level. And I even addressed this in a previous video, that my generation, by the time we get to the mid-2030s, end of the 2030s, into the early 2040s, it's going to be my generation that's going to be in charge of a lot of these leadership positions in many said organizations across the Western world. So a lot of that change is inevitably going to take place, because there is also that generational gap of what we deem as important might not be as deemed as important by the generation before. And there's an incompatibility, because those issues that stood out at that time are not compatible right now with what's going on. Just like how you have a lot of the education that's in the school, it's very, very outdated. By the time the kids are seniors and they graduate from high school, it's a very outdated system. They're confused, they're dazed, and it takes them at least a year or two for them to just figure out what they're going to do in terms of job, going to college, and just getting themselves mentally situated. That should not be the case. So if the proper system was in place, then they would be ready to go right out of high school with what they wanted to do. So that's true for everything, because of course it's all about individualism and not focusing on the collective. So it's important you realize that at the end, selfishness is not one of the traits of a true Freemason. It's about empathy, ego, humility, love, kindness, and basically to see what is this human life, and the importance of education and the proper mentorship and the proper teachings. Because anything that's been given to you today, it's because it's been passed down to you. And if it's not passed down properly now in the way that it's meant to, then it's not going to survive in the future, because it's a give and take situation. Just like how you have a legend. One story gets passed from one generation to another, and that's true for any systems of existence. It has to be properly taken care of, properly managed, properly loved, properly given the attention for. And then as time goes on, we see a lot of these electronic platforms that are limiting relations day by day. I mean, with my generation, I think that I envy the time of my parents and grandparents, when people were simpler, relations were less complicated, things were just different. People wanted to settle down, they wanted to get married. It wasn't I mean, I guess they had their own issues, but it wasn't how it is right now, where you have all of these different debts you have to deal with, the aspect of the credit system, having enough money just to even survive, as we're seeing with the current inflation. People are just going crazy left and right. There's a crime and inflation imploding all across the major cities, not just in America, but across the world. So as Freemasons, in my opinion, when an organization like this exists, you shouldn't be reminiscing about Benjamin Franklin and George Washington. Those people did their own thing during their own time. You have to make an impact in your time specifically, because at that time the circumstances, the situations were a lot different than what you're dealing with today. So instead of reminiscing about the past and just putting up statues of Washington and Franklin, you have to make sure that the members of today are becoming great and are exemplifying those ideals and traits in their respective areas and vocations and neighborhoods and family situations. So those values continue to get passed on in this age where there's no lack of any empathy for each other, for human life, for relationships, for each other. The degradation that we see of women and men in different industries and online. There needs to be the proper education, empathy, and training for one. It's just like in Sufism, there's the aspect of tarbiyat. In the Arabic, that word tarbiyat means the proper mentoring and education, because the Sheikh is the one, or the equivalent of a worshipful master, that guides his disciple from darkness to light, and he helps him make sure that he's properly being trained, he's having the proper spiritual disciplines, he's acting accordingly, he's governing himself accordingly, as you even hear in Masonry, and he's always displaying the high ideal character of a human being in all of his settings, on social media, in person, family, neighborhood, his job. So if those things are not being properly done, where they just tell you, yeah, it's all you got to do it on your own, then you kind of lose the plot. Again, it's a collective brotherhood. It's a collective thought from the Eastern perspective, from what I see. And it's not about individualism or egoism. It's about hand in hand, helping each other, uplifting each other, and guiding each other properly, and educating each other properly, and correcting each other's faults properly, so we become better human beings day by day, week by week, and month by month. That is the ultimate goal. And that is what one must strive for. Again, think about the society that we're living in. You need the proper mentorship. You need the proper companionship. You need a hobby that you can focus on. You need a skill that you can work on. You can't do that all by yourself. You need the proper guidance, as we are social animals. And in the Sufi perspective, we are taught that everything is a mirror reflection of you. So what you define as the divinity is represented in all factors that you see of existence in life. So once you come to that conclusion, there is no individualism, because at the end, it's just one being that's interacting with itself through all of us, through each other. That's exactly the truth. It might not interfere directly, but it will guide and teach us through the many factors of existence that are in this human life. So again, think about it. think about the things that I'm saying, and just keep in mind that anywhere where individualism or egoism of any kind is promoted, that is not the true teachings, and that is not any kind of true unity or true brotherhood. It's about uplifting the fallen state of mankind, loving each other, guiding each other, and just being there for each other in the short human life that we've been given for. Again, this is a spiritual school, and you're just sent here to learn something, and once you pass the test, and you move on to the next realm. And that's pretty much it. So I hope you were able to get something from my message. Again, I represent myself only. I don't represent any grand lot statements or opinions on the importance of why you need the proper mentorship, guidance, brotherhood, friendship, not just in Freemasonry, but anything that you do in the West, as basically all of those things, what the Western society promotes with the individualism and egoism, is against not just Masonic teachings, but any other teachings that you find which promote the upliftment of mankind. So thank you again all so much, and I hope you gained something from this message.